get your first general reaction to the governor calling a special session today.
Yeah, the governor has failed to listen to the voice of the Oregonians who just cannot afford higher tax increases, and she seems determined to continue to push for higher costs for Oregonians at the gas pump. And so her announcement today of a special session is in line with how she's handled this issue all session long. First, she was absent from the process while we were in session for 6 months and could have had Democrats pass whatever they wanted to address the budget needs of the state. Instead, they failed to get that done. And now we are looking at a special session to come in. I would just say we don't have to raise taxes on Oregonians. I keep bringing this up, and I feel like this is really important for Oregonians to know. There's money right now today in a committee called the Emergency Board, and that committee actually has reserve funds available for emergencies. And there's money sitting there today that could be directed to prevent layoffs at the Department of Transportation. So if the governor is saying we have to have a special session because she wants to prevent layoffs, she could still delay those layoffs as she's indicated she's going to. And instead of raising taxes at the end of August, she could go in and she could tap some of the state's reserves to be able to keep folks working and on the ground, boots on the ground, until we can come into a regular session in February. And then we can have a conversation about how to address this issue. There are ways to take the money that's available and redirect it in a regular session setting. But if the governor doesn't want to do that, she can choose to use the money in our reserves today without a session and save those jobs.
Why do you think the governor is not utilizing those funds in the emergency board?
I think she wants to raise taxes. I think the governor believes that Oregonians can afford a 6-cent gas tax increase, and I believe they cannot. I mean, we're talking about an immediate increase of gas prices as soon as this bill would go into effect of 6 cents at the pump. We're already fifth highest in the nation. Our gas prices on average are 40 cents a gallon. This would increase that an additional 6 cents immediately upon passage of this bill. And so I think that the governor is wrong on this issue. I think Oregonians can't afford more costs at the gas pump. And when you raise gas prices, it's not just raising the cost to drive your car. That's raising the price of milk. That's raising the price of eggs and bread. That's raising the price of everything that you buy because everything comes in a truck. And when you increase the cost for fuel, you're increasing the cost in goods on goods across our state. So this is going to have very real impacts on family budgets.
And so you said it a couple times. Are you expecting that 6-cent gas tax increase in this bill?
That is what I am expecting. The governor and I spoke last night, and I again encouraged her to not call a special session and instead to call for the state to use reserve funds to get us to the February session. And she declined to consider that. But at that time, she indicated that the gas tax increase would appeared that she was planning for a 6-cent increase. That's a lot. The last time they did gas tax increases, they increased it a penny a year, 1 penny. And they had this big 2017 bipartisan transportation package when Republicans and Democrats worked together and they voted together on that. It was a gradual increase that was intended to only go in place if the state met particular benchmarks for whether or not those projects were done. This is 6 cents immediately. This is going to end up costing as much as the last transportation package, the last tax increase. That never went away. Those tax increases didn't expire. This is on top of that. And so we're talking about increases in title fees, increases in registration fees, a doubling of our payroll taxes. You and I pay payroll taxes. This will double that, plus a 6-cent gas tax increase. It is a huge, huge increase in cost.
Yeah, are you able to tell me any more about some of the aspects of this bill that may be coming out? I know you just said some more increases to tax or to vehicle fees, and then I've also read in many different publications that they're talking about the increase to the state payroll tax. Can you confirm that those will also be in the bill?
You know, the governor did not share any specific language with me, but she did indicate that she is going to double the payroll tax. She did indicate 6 cents on gas tax, and she indicated a substantial increase in title and registration fees. So I'm looking forward to seeing the details of this bill, just like the rest of Oregon is looking forward to seeing it. She's called the special session. She hasn't shared the details of this plan with us. We haven't seen the language, but she has given a framework that I know is going to be the highest increase in our gas tax that Oregonians have ever seen at one time. They are going to feel this at the pump. And the time to let legislators know what you think of this is now. Like, this is the time. If she's calling this special session for the end of August, there's still time for her to actually reverse course and choose to use reserves instead of increasing costs on Oregonians right now when they can least afford it.
And I want to ask too, what's your caucus's plan to fight back against these tax increases in the special session?
We're going to do what we have been doing all along. We're going to stand with Oregonians, and we are going to be their voice inside this process. 80% of Oregonians are opposed to increases in the gas tax today. And that hasn't changed. Oregonians don't want this; they can't afford it, and we are going to be there standing in the gap for them. And also, we are going to be inviting them, like we are right now in this conversation. Reach out to the Democrat legislators. Reach out to the governor's office. Let them know what you think about a 6 cents gas tax increase. We are constantly giving them alternatives. We're telling the governor you can redirect existing revenues, redirect the transit tax, at least part of it, to balance out the budget at ODOT. She declined to do that. Now we're telling her there's other options. Take some of the reserves. You can use that to balance out this budget. You don't have to raise taxes. And I think that if Oregonians are willing and if Oregonians choose to engage, we will be there to support them. We will be there to fight with them. But we really do need people that are impacted by these taxes to speak up now.
And then my last question for you, I just want to ask, do you see, I know you were kind of put out of those transportation talks during the regular session. I want to know, how involved have you been in transportation discussions in between, in the interim right now? And then I also am wondering too, do you expect any changes in transportation leadership? I know we had some changes during the session, and then now with that failure, I'm wondering if there's going to be any changes, or if you expect any changes to leadership on the transportation level.
Well, I would say that it's absolutely essential that Senator Gorsuch, not sorry about that. I'd say it's absolutely essential that Senator Gorsuch uh, continue to be removed from the Transportation Committee. He cannot return to that committee, from my perspective, given his behavior. And so I think that outside of that, we need to continue to focus on the fact that what we need are leaders who are listening to Oregonians. And so we'll work with anybody across the aisle that's willing to work with us. And we have continued to affirmatively and proactively share options with our Democrat colleagues across the aisle. We want to be a part of these solutions. And through in session, we proposed legislation which provided efficiencies and provided accountability and protected jobs without raising costs. We continue to do that. So we will have a proposal if we do end up coming into this special session. We'll have a proposal for them to consider that balances out the ODOT budget without raising taxes. We will continue to engage, and we'll invite Democrats to consider our proposals. The governor has not invited us to the table. This is a Democrat proposal. This is a Democrat bill. They anticipate passing it strictly on party lines. They have rejected every offer that we have made for them to soften this tax burden, the tax hit to Oregonians. We just don't want Oregonians to have to pay for this. We don't think they can afford it.